Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Hellraiser Below and Beyond. If you've missed the first entry to this series, please do find a link left above as well as below in the description box. But let's dive right in. And so it continued. Throughout the centuries, the young man remained young, the Thamud people kept disappearing, and strange etchings kept appearing. Symbols, patterns, configurations. A child is playing in the streets as evening draws in. The lights are fading from lanterns and people are closing their doors for the night. The young boy is running along, skipping, hopping, kicking the sand. We follow as he joyfully runs around without a care in the world. He's running, looking down at his feet. How fast can he go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's counting his steps and looking as he kicks into the sand. In his joyous play, he wasn't looking where he was going. He hits into something. A person. A man. In first-person view, we see this man's feet. Black cloth wrapped around them. The boy's eyes continue to trace upwards, and his heart beats as he sees a red hue coming from the black fabric on this man's ankles. And then he sees a pearl of something, a teardrop. It's red. It falls downwards to the sand as he continues to track his eyes upwards. It's blood. The man's legs have flesh bulging over the wraps. He sees bones, he sees ligaments and sinew, muscle fibers and marrow. And before he sees the man's face, a sickle comes up through his ribcage, splitting his sternum. He tries to scream, but he can't make a sound. He's simply mouthing and thrashing wildly. With a crunch and a snap, the sickle moves further up, and in one motion, the boy's ribcage is split in two. His intestines are on the floor along with his lungs. His heart, however, we see back in his point of view, is being held by the figure, and he's gently squeezing it, caressing it.
This heart, oh how it beats. The essence of your life flows through it, like a river to the ocean. When one stops that river, builds a dam, that river overflows. Your heart, my child, is that dam. Let me burst its banks and let that river flow. Let me set you free, so you can join your brethren.
And in one quick squeeze and a crunch and squelch, the boy's heart is popped like a balloon. As he does this and slowly succumbs to death, the last thing he sees is the streets of his city, the Thamud city, where he was playing moments ago, covered in a river of blood. Black-garbed men, women, creatures, wading through it, holding bodies, eyes, heads, arms, all manner of monstrosities making up their features. The young man had done it. He had opened the doorway, and in his haste to satiate his hunger, he decided to unlock the gate between dimensions, open a pathway between realms, and let the Cenobites in. The entire city was acting as a configuration, and as such, the Thamud city hung precariously between this dimension and the hellish world of the labyrinth. And as the Cenobites continued their destruction, we see the young man, the nameless one, the man who took Azai's place, wandering among them, looking, searching, for the one who appeared in his courtyard all those centuries ago, the one that took the little girl he offered to silence his hunger. All night he searches, walking among the Cenobites, wading through a literal river of blood. And as he passes each hellish monster, they look at him, acknowledging his presence, his part to play in all of this, and his cog that turns in the infernal machine. But he sees none that resembles him, the one that took the soul of his child. And so he wanders through the night, out and into the desert, for when the Cenobites have had their fill, he knows not what will happen to the city. It may simply disappear, swallowed by the labyrinth, a visual representation of the hunger that emanates from that place. It's daylight now, and the wandering young man is on a sand dune. He turns and looks back to the Thamud city. It should be glistening in the morning sun, and yet there is nothing. It's gone. All of the city devoured by those ravenous beasts. And there again, building in the pit of his stomach, is that hunger. Is this really his purpose? To feed these hell knights, these priests of the dark dominion? These were questions that continued to lurk in the back of his mind as he wandered the desert, into the night and beyond. Many days, months, and years he would wander from place to place, feeding himself and the labyrinth as he went. All the while the seeds of doubt were growing. Is this really his purpose? Is this his destiny? And as the seeds of doubt grew, as did the presence of the red shimmer, the Guardian, that fiery demon dragon the Thamud had created a myth over, ever watching, waiting from above. The centuries moved slowly, and the Wanderer and the Guardian continued through the eastern world to the west, devouring souls and feeding the damned hell its victims it so desired. And we see this in a bloody montage of victims, skinned, flayed flesh, and the Cenobites claiming their prize, the soul. Along this bloody tapestry, the Wanderer takes possession of the Lament configuration, a device that was created in France by a toy maker, and in this moment, as he holds the box in his hands, he realizes that those seeds of doubt have grown into a great oak tree. The Cenobites, they never needed him. This was never his destiny. He has always merely been a pawn in their game, and, as I'd preyed on him, finding someone that could take his place, and finally he could die, leaving this world and damning his soul for eternity. He was no longer needed, surplus to requirements. And yet, he still had that hunger, that desire for life. And so, although knowing full well that he had been tricked into this existence, he continued onwards through the centuries. This time now with the box, he would pass it on from person to person, ensuring that they had the desire necessary to open it. And with the box opening, his hunger and the Cenobites were both quenched, if only for a while. He would continue on in this way until he ventured east, learning of the dark intricacies of hell, gathering his army of knowledge, and eventually he would relinquish his grip on the box. Deep in a bazaar, he sits at a table, a dishevelled man before him, black hair, a tank top on. He had come to him, a rare occurrence, and as this man sat before him, he thought to himself, it seems tales of the box had begun to travel far and wide, and this was his chance, to let go of the box and make hell run its own doorway between the realms, and he would hunt down the Cenobite who claimed his daughter as payment for this subjugation. Frank Cotton took the box so willingly, gleefully even. The young man, still young, relatively speaking, picked up his knapsack, bid Frank farewell and good pleasure, and wandered into the desert. The end. There you go, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of my personal story, Hellraiser Below and Beyond. It's written as a few stories in one. The Wanderer is, of course, the young man from the Thamud city. His purpose, for those that didn't know, I've been leaving little kind of tidbits of information throughout this whole series. He is the man who says, What's Your Pleasure to Frank Cotton in the first movie. I wanted to take a character which we know essentially nothing about and expand on it, whilst also expanding the mythos of the world that Clive Barker so majestically created. Now, I know a lot of people seem to, like this story and some didn't, and etc, etc. That's fine. But for those that stuck with me and did enjoy it, thank you so much. I will probably make this into one long audiobook for you all. I haven't quite decided whether I will or not, because the views on this have kind of consistently gone down, which has been balls, but never mind. Just goes to show my storytelling's not actually that good, which is fine, I guess. But anyway, I'm rambling crap. I hope you enjoyed this nonetheless. I've been Mr. H. Take care.